a popular book you haven't read yet. Oh, let me go to my to not be read list that I have for books that I will never read in my life. I'm trying to find a male character so y'all can prove to y'all that I'm not sexist, right? Let's be frank with each other. Frank, I hope you're watching again, because last time I was frank with you and we did really well. So this time again, Frank, let's be you with each other, okay? I just paid the $36 to have this on my shelf, and I will own up to that. As a man, I will own up to that. Y'all some idiots out there sometimes, because you're missing all of these great, less than aggressively popular books. You're missing out. You're missing out. None of these questions were like which ones has the best action, the best magic system, the most immersive magic system, the most graphic action scenes, or the most like the best imagery. Those type of questions weren't on this list, and because they weren't, you don't get those answers. Sorry. Don't yell at me. Yell at the person who made this tweet and tell them EntroArchives from YouTube sent you. What is really going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today's episode, you get podcast Arish today. You get chill on the mic in his chair Arish today, because we're going through Twitter bookish questions, and I just wanted to get on and talk to you guys. Is that such a bad thing? I don't think so, because you still get books out of it, and I just get easy content. Yeah, I don't know why I said it like that. Anyways, so I found this thread on Twitter that someone just posted like a ton of like bookish questions to quote retweet. There's 30 of them. We get 30 questions. Anyways, the first question is a book you bought simply because the cover is pretty. Let me consult my bookshelf, because I have a couple I want to tell you guys about. Okay, so these are it, but there may be more. I just can't think of them. But these are the books I wanted to show you for books you bought simply because the cover is pretty. The first one is obviously the European covers of the Seven Realms series by Cinda Williams Chima. These are magnificent because every single one of them is a staff with an orb as the item of channeling magic, and inside the orb is essentially the topic or the theme of the book. So this one's a Grey Wolf Throne, so there's a wolf inside of it. Another one has a castle, another one has other things. I love these so much more than the US editions. It's not even close. This book was recommended to me by Zoran over on TikTok. I will always try and give credit to people who recommended me the books, but I also wanted to physically buy them because of how pretty this one is. The Bone Shard Daughter. I love this book cover. It basically encapsulates everything the actual story is about, down to the little sea creatures, the symbols right there, everything looking like it's made of a bone-ish, like looking like it's made of bone essentially, because the book revolves around bone magic. It's so well done. I just really love these covers. I'm just showing you the first one. You should look up the rest. These are two books that I haven't read at all, and I bought them from Barnes & Nobles because I really fucked with the book cover, and I thought maybe I should read this. I've yet to read it, and here's how dumb I am, right? So I bought Arca. Look how pretty this is. Like respectfully, disrespectfully, look how pretty this is. Look how the serpent is just circling in that circle with all the two circles behind it, like a Venn diagram vertically, and the gemstone on it and everything. And then look over here, it says book 2. Yeah, I didn't really look at that when I picked it up. So Scorpica, I believe, is book 1 and Arca is book 2. I have yet to buy Scorpica. I have yet to even attempt Scorpica. So I don't know if I'll ever even get to this book, but I think I will at some point. The only thing I don't like, and I'll be really honest here, the material that the cover is like made of it's almost like rubbing it with your skin feels like scratching a chalkboard. And now that I gave you some trauma, let's go to the last book, okay? This is fuck. Okay, this is another book 2 that I bought. I think around the same time I bought Arca. I just bought both the book 2s and didn't even care the fact that I haven't read book 1 or seen what book 1 looks like or even looked at what book 1's concept is. This is Chasm by Stacey McEwen, and I just think it's such a pretty cover. the star belt at the top looking through. Basically, it looks like a valley, so two mountainsides on the side. I honestly love it. It is gorgeous. To me, it's gorgeous. I absolutely love this book cover. And those are a few that I could find right now of book covers of books that I bought almost purely because of their cover and nothing else. Alrighty, then let's move on to number 2. A book you had high expectations for and it just let you down. Good Lord. Before we get to that though, let me know if there are any books that you've bought that you just absolutely love the cover of, and share those books down below. I would love to know them. And, who knows, I might pick it up from my bookshelf. Okay, so number 2. A book you had high expectations for and it just let you down. I will tell you the most recent one. There may have been a few in the past. Almost half of the books of February that I just read let me down. But the one that a book that I always have high expectations for are John Flanagan's Royal Ranger books. And that's because the Royal Ranger is my comfort, world, right? It is my escape world. It is my book slump world. And last year's release of Ranger's Apprentice, Royal Ranger, Ambush at Serato was an absolute letdown in terms of an actual book. Nothing happened inside of it. Quite literally, there was no up or down climax, no change of emotions. It was just bleh. Nothing happened. And I kid you not when I say that. It felt like when I finished reading it, I was like, I felt zero emotions the entire time. There was no thrill, there was no suspense, there wasn't even the inkling of, oh no, something bad might happen here. And that's how it's been for the past 2 books, actually. Not even just Ambush at Serato, the one before that as well. Not good. I don't know if it's because of this yearly release that Flanagan's trying to do along with his other series or what, but they're becoming very bad episodic books. Not good episodic books like the Ranger's Apprentice was initially. And I need John Flanagan to fix that because that's just not okay. Another one I will say, and I don't have the book. Oh, I do have the book for it. I will say another book that I had high expectations for but did let me down was actually Shadow and Bone. I can only show you this version because I have it. This is also a very pretty version that I should have shown off in book 1, the first question. But look how pretty look how pretty this is as well. I completely bought this for vanity purposes and that's it. But to get back to the actual point of book or question number 2, Shadow and Bone, the trilogy itself was an absolute letdown compared to what I expected, and there's no other way to say it. It was quite literally just an absolute letdown, and I wish that people had told me about it because I was reading all of these King of Scars duology and Six of Crows duology on TikTok and letting people give me their thoughts, and it just wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. There's so many holes, so many inconsistencies, so many moments when things happened as they shouldn't have, happened as I didn't expect, but not in a good way. So many decisions were made that just didn't do anything for me. And I just ended up, I really didn't like it. I'll be honest, I just didn't like it. So that was Shadow and Bone for me. I loved Six of Crows duology and King of Scars duology. Love those. But you have to get through Shadow and Bone to really, in my opinion, fully understand and love those books. Because one, the comparison of those two versus Shadow and Bone, you'll appreciate those two so much more having worked through this. But also, this is a really good foundational series to get you prepared for those other two. All right, number 3, a book that has been on your TBR for over a year. Good Lord, there's so many. Let me pull up my Notion. That being said, if you aren't tracking your books in any sort of spreadsheet or notes app or anything like that, I would, highly recommend starting to track your books. I think it's just made me appreciate the books that I read so much more because I'm tracking them and I can see my journey and see the books that I have read. And when I want to recommend books to people, I can go back to my TBR and see what I thought at that time about the book and if it would be good for them. And I have a list so I don't forget about them. I think it's really great. If you don't have an Excel spreadsheet or any sort of template to use, hear me out. If you go into the link down below in the comments, there's a Discord invite link. Come join the Torchbooks Discord. In there, you will get a free Google Sheets template to start tracking your, what's the word for it? Tracking your books. It has everything you need to start tracking. I can tell you right now what it has. So in this template, you will get the ability to have the name, the author, the media type. If it's a book, manga, manhwa, novella, whatever you want, you can describe it however you want. The status of it, whether you've started it, not started it, it's in progress, you're done with it, or you DNF'd it. The score you gave it, right? The standard, a 1 to 5 star or a DNF it, but that can also be customizable. This template is fully customizable. The genre, if you want to track that, the tropes inside the book, if you also want to track that, and if you post reviews, links to reviews of the books, or if you come across a review that you really like about that book, there's a column there for you to save reviews that you enjoy. So if you want this, it's 100% free. The Discord to join is also 100% free. Just come join, right? And ask around, hey, can I get that free template? It's pinned somewhere. We can give it to you. I love it. I've been using it for the past 2 years, 3 years now, and I absolutely love it. I know people that I talk to also love using a tracker of sorts. Try it out. That being said, books that have been on my TBR for longer than a year are A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab, A Game of Retribution by Scarlett St. Clair, After Earth by Emma Newman. Let me filter this by stuff that I haven't started. Damn, that's so many. Oh my God. Whoa. Combat Codes by Alexander Darwin. I heard about that a long time ago. Fablehaven by Brandon Mull. I put that on my TBR way early on and never touched it. The Pendragon series by DJ McHale, having to reread that, have not touched it. Stone and Sky by Z.S. Diamante, have not touched it. Shadow of the God by John Gwynne, have not touched it. So many more, right? The Midnight Library, The Missing Prince, The Pale City, The Power of Five, The Rogue King, Scorpio Ray, Spell Shop, Ultimate Exorcist Kyoshi, Unsold by Will White, Vicious by V.E. Schwab, War of the 12 by Alex Robbins, Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan, Wolf of Oren-Yara by K.S. Veloso. Some of these might be recent, actually. Some of these might be in the past year. I'm just saying I have a ton on there, and that's okay. If there's any books that have been on your TBR for over a year, let me know down below. Let's collectively add them to our TBRs and not touch them for another year. A popular book you haven't read yet. Oh, let me go to my to not be read list that I have for books that I will never read in my life. Stephen King novels, all of them. I haven't read a single King novel. I haven't read a single Colleen Hoover novel. I haven't read a single Sanderson novel. I have not read a single Sarah J. Maas novel. This is not on my to not be read list, but I also haven't read a single Cassandra Clare novel either, right? I can just give you just those authors that I have never read because all of their books are popular. They're aggressively popular authors. Never read them. Will I ever read them? Who knows? But if they're a popular book that you haven't read, let me know down below. A book you regret not DNFing. I don't think this is a good question because it's basically saying, do you regret never finishing this book? And if you don't finish a book, there's usually a good reason why. And if you ever feel like, oh, why did I never finish that book? Almost nobody has that thought. Like, unless somebody is telling you this is a really good book, you should have finished it. Rarely people are like, oh, you should have finished that book. It's really good. And you think, you know what? Maybe I should have finished it. Go back and fucking read it if you really wanted to, right? I don't think that's a good question. We're skipping it. Book with the most obnoxious main character that we're supposed to like. Holy shit. I know there's a couple. Let me consult my shelf. All right, we are going to take a trip down recent memory lane and a little bit down heavy memory lane. We're going to start with the Atlas 6 right here. One of the 6 main characters, Libby, who is a destruction molecular magic user, and I fucking hate Libby. I cannot stand her character archetype in this book. I literally, nothing she does do I ever agree with, or do I even care about. At a certain point, I was like, I don't care. I actually haven't finished the series. This was one of my favorite series when I first started creating content, and I've yet to finish the series. I think I just don't care about going back to the world now. After book 2, I was like, I'm good. Gang, I'm good. I don't regret DNFing that series right now. The next one we got to talk about is Heartless Hunter. This one by Kristen Ciccarelli. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. I apologize if I butchered it. The character Rune Winters in this book is absolutely annoying. I don't like her. Her motive for what she does and how she carries herself, I don't think is the best. She's not very classy. She's supposed to be a vigilante, but doesn't really carry herself as one. And just the way she behaves throughout the story in terms of interactions with her friends, interactions with the love interest, interactions with, her enemies, all of it, I was like, girl, you could be doing so much better with your acting. And it was awful. I didn't like it. And then the character in The Love Hypothesis, Ali Hazelwood, you know what? Before I say this, yes, all three of these are women. I am not sexist. I'm just saying the women because they were women-centric protagonists. That's why I'm saying this. There are also males in other series that I actually can't stand. And I was looking through my TBR to find them, and it's not hitting me right now. And so I apologize that I can't find them right now. I know they're there. I know they're there. Okay. But let's talk about what's her name. Olive Smith is verifiably a bumbling, annoying individual who just, with help of her friend An, creates just messy situations to then have to get herself out of and keeps getting deeper into said messy situations. She was written like that, in my opinion, and I just don't like characters that are written like that. I don't like characters that are like bumbling, trip over themselves, stumble over their own words, put their own foot in their mouth just to continue the plot. It's a really dumb way of writing a character, in my opinion, because it feels like it's being forced, right? It feels like it's being forced. I don't like it. I'm trying to find a male character so I can prove to y'all that I'm not sexist. But I keep running across books where the female main character is just written so badly. Because there are female main characters that are written so well, but I can't tell you about it because it's not one of these questions. Hopefully it's one of these questions that we get to later on. Number 7, the favorite canon book ship. If you don't understand what that means, basically in an actual written storyline, not a fan fiction, characters that you are saying should be in a relationship, maybe if they're not, or that they're supposed to be together, etc. This one's a little bit harder for me because I really don't care. But I will say in the Echo Saga series, the character Asher and the elf Phelan, I think they were a thing before something happened at the end of book 3, and I think they should have been a thing for the entire series. That's all I'm saying I'm choosing that one because it was canon that they were in a relationship. I just think it should have continued. In my opinion, I think that's what should have happened, but I understand why it didn't happen the way it did. Philip C. Quantrill, we're going to have a talk later, but that's fine. Favorite headcanon book ship. If you don't know what this means because you actually go outside and touch grass or aren't on the internet as much, headcanon means stuff that's in your brain that isn't actually true. But it's true in your brain because you've convinced yourself it's true. So a favorite headcanon book ship, I think, would be... For me, it's Eamon Byrne and Raisan and Mariana. I think for me, that's one of them where I was like, I'm actually rooting more for Eamon and Risa versus Risa and Han Alistair. And don't get me wrong, my boy Cuffs is dripped out, and I will always root for Cuffs Alistair. But I think it should have been, like, for me, I would have loved more of an Eamon Risa ship. I think that's the one. And if you don't know what I'm talking about The Demon King by Cinda Williams Chima, which is one of my favorite books of all time, probably number 2 behind now Sword of Kaigen. And the characters I was talking about are in this book, in this 4-book series. You should really read it and then tell me about it. I haven't read these since that's a lie. I haven't read these since sophomore, junior year of college, which was about 6 to 7 years ago, maybe now. So I need to reread these for the channel to really know, does nostalgia hold up? But that for another video. A book completely out of your comfort zone that you enjoyed. Oh my gosh. You know, high key though, emotional charades. Like real talk, emotional charades by Taylor Bianca B. Shout out to you. But Taylor Bianca B's book, Emotional Charades, was 1000% out of my comfort zone. It was basically a book that tackles toxic relationships mixed with being on the autism, like mental health issues, and in this case, being on the autism spectrum. Relationships that kind of are in that theme. And I was so uncomfortable reading it because I've never read books that are about this topic or these topics in this way. If they're ever toxic, I've read them in a more rom-com like setting, not a more serious undertone setting. And I think coming out of it, I really enjoyed it. It was one of those books on rung number 4 of the book engagement ladder that Tim Fasciola recently explained to me, and we'll do a video on it later actually talking about the full ladder. But I think that book taught me a lot. It helped me connect a lot with the characters, but it also taught me a lot. It didn't challenge me, and I don't think it needed to, but it did teach me a lot, and I will always appreciate that book for that, and I would highly recommend it to people to read and give a chance. Your most surprising 5-star read. Oh, this is where the Notion comes in handy because now I can ascend by 5-star reads. None of these on this list are surprising to me. I think that's the problem. Something like Legends and Lattes. And actually, I need to change this. Iron Flame should not be 5 stars. Thank you to this question for telling me. Iron Flame is a very average book compared to Fourth Wing and Onyx Storm. That's actually a really good point. Iron Flame is not a 5-star read. Let's be completely factual with each other, right? Let's be frank with each other. Frank, I hope you're watching again, because last time I was frank with you and we did really well. So this time again, Frank, let's be you with each other, okay? Iron Flame was not a 5-star read in general. It was riddled with issues that many were fixed in Onyx Storm. Some people still didn't like Onyx Storm, and I think it's just when you get deeper into a series, sometimes you have to sacrifice one thing for another. In this case, I think maybe some like relationship building and other things were sacrificed for like more world building. And at the same time, the depth of world building was sacrificed for cadence and pacing purposes. That was a great question because it did help me realize one of these should not be a 5-star. And I had marked it as 5-star when I read it. Best enemies to lovers. Fuck this trope. Damn. You cannot call Iris Winnows and Roman Seekit enemies to lovers because they're not enemies, because he knows she's writing to him. So they're not enemies. Book lovers is funny. I don't know if that's count as enemies to lovers though. I don't have a ton of books that are enemies to lovers that I actually like and care for to say that they're the best. And I'm being very honest with you. I don't think there are many good ones in here on my list, and I apologize for that. I mean, the only one on my list that I can even talk about maybe is Night of the Witch, but that's the same thing as Heartless Hunter, and I think Night of the Witch did it much better than Heartless Hunter. That's all I'm gonna say. But that one's pure. That one is enemies to lovers. Ooh, The Sorceress Transcendent. Actually, fuck all that. The Sorceress Transcendent is a novella that is technically enemies to lovers because the main guy and the women, it's like the knight of the kingdom and the witch in her own exiled land of like plot of land. I liked the Sorcerer's Transcendent a lot. It's a great novella, a quick Sunday late morning, sip some orange juice, go outside, sit on your porch, sit in your hammock and read type vibe. It is pretty cozy. It's not cozy, but it's really good in my opinion. I think that was a good, decent enemies to lovers. A best friends to lovers, not best friends to lovers, but best, friends to lovers book. Once again, it's really hard to do relationship tropes with me because I don't give a fuck about them a lot of the times. You know, Nathaniel and Reyna from Rise of the Ranger, the Echo Saga series, are really, really good friends to lovers. They were never enemies. They became friends. They got closer. I don't think it was necessarily forced, but I think it was one of those like love at first sight type of things for maybe him. And then for her, I think she kind of grew into the love. She was first intrigued by him because he was the first human she'd ever seen, because she grew up on the island of elves and never had seen a human until she went to the mainland. And so she was intrigued by him initially. But I think over time, they grew to really love each other. And that love is very, very deep. That love is very deep. I adore Nathaniel Hawthorne and Reyna. Fuck, I can't remember her last name. Another great friends to lovers, in my opinion. In the Ranger's Apprentice series, Cassandra Altman, Cassie, or Evelyn is the princess of Araluen, and there is a love that blossoms between her and Horace, the knight of the realm, one of the more premier knights of the realm. She was originally Will Treaty's friend, the main guy of Ranger's Apprentice. He is the Ranger's Apprentice, but Will Treaty and his love. I'm so bad with names, guys. I'm so bad with names. His love were doing love things, but Cassie and Horace, I think, was a really fun and friends to lovers as well, in my opinion. A book that would go crazy, the film adaptation. I have been saying, brother, I have been bellowing and yelling this off the cliffside into the open air and sea. I think that the Demon King or the Warrior Heir by Cinda Williams Shima would be a great action fantasy series. I think it would be amazing. It would go crazy. Okay, it would go crazy. But if we're doing films, because that's a series, and I want the TV show adaptation. I don't want a movie adaptation. If we're doing film, high key though, do a Dungeons and Dragons type film, but for Legends and Lattes, that would go bonkers. Tell me that wouldn't go bonkers, okay? Travis Baldry, if you're seeing this, I need you to get in touch with whoever made the Dungeons and Dragons movie and figure out what we need to do to make a Legends and Lattes movie, because I think that would go crazy, okay? I think that would go amazing, in my opinion. In my humble opinion. And I haven't said this in a while, but please leave any of your answers and all of your answers to all these things in the comments below. Mwah. Love you guys. Best book antagonist. I think a really, really good book antagonist is the Crow from Echo Saga. I think Malleith is a crazy antagonist. He's not, like, in my opinion, Malleith is like the Crow was a really good antagonist for being able to see what he saw and mold the events of phase 2 and 3 to follow what he thought he saw in his visions. Malleith was a crazy antagonist because we thought that Elijah and Malleith were, partner, not. And so figuring that out, I was like, oh my God, I wasn't 100% expecting that. I knew Malleith had just been warped to be evil over time. Like, I just knew it, but I didn't know it was going to be like that. A book where the audiobook elevates it to another level. This is really unfair for me to answer because I stopped listening to audiobooks very, very early on in my life. The most recent audiobook that I can ever remember listening to, and I will always say this, is Lemony Snicket, or the series of Unfortunate Events by Lemony Snicket. Those audiobooks go crazy, and because that's the only one I can remember, but it also did go crazy, I'm going to say the audiobooks of the series of Unfortunate Events, Lemony Snicket. I forgot who did the audiobooks at this point in time, but they did not have to go as hard as they did, but because they did, we got a national treasure, in my opinion. Number 16, book that needs either a sweet sequel or a prequel. I don't think books need a prequel, but there are a lot of books that I think need something after them. We're never going to get this, but Sword of Kaigen needs more in that Theonite world, and we're never going to get it. But I think that would have been great as like a duology at least, not just a standalone. This is also very unfair of me to answer this question because all I do is read series and multiple multiple book series versus standalones. So I'm not the best one to ask this, but I think that would be my vote if I was to pick one. Book with the best world building, that is so hard. That is unfairly hard. It's not Fourth Wing. Fuck off. The Echo Saga has magnificent world building that takes you back to the world building of Tolkien at a smaller scale. It just helps you reminisce on. I see a lot of the similarities of the entire world of Lord of the Rings in Echo Saga. I enjoyed that. I haven't read Lord of the Rings. I've only just recently watched the first 2 movies back in December of 2024. I'm hoping to actually experience the full breadth of the world building through the books at some point. But Echo Saga is amazing. I really, really enjoyed the Seven Realms series, obviously. I think the world building there was just great for me at the time when I read it. The world building in Six of Crows duology is really good. That one, you're really there. Wherever the crows are, you're there with them. Wherever Han Alistair is, you're there with him. I can still imagine Han Alistair going to the attic or the clock tower of that academy and training with that ghost to better control his powers, training with the quote-unquote Demon King, trying to control his powers and get better. I can still picture that in my mind, and I haven't read this book for the past 8 years. I think when you can recall the exact setting of a scene in a book, that is amazing world building in my opinion. You can imagine, and you also know what led up to that scene and what happened afterwards. If you can remember all of that, in my opinion, that is great world building. That being said, I haven't read Sanderson, Tolkien, George R.R. Martin, and I know that so many people tout their worlds as some of the best, but I want to give really good. Actually, I'm going to add one more to that list is A Vengeful Run by Tim Fasciola, not for the same reasons as the other two, but because Tim just packed so much into the world and connected so many past, present, and future points to where the world building in that book and that series has a lot of layers to it that require, I think, multiple read-throughs to fully get immersed into it. I will give kudos to Tim on that. Let me know your best world building books. Books with the most fleshed out side characters, and that's a really interesting question. I think Six of Crows really tried to flesh out all of the crows because really it was a Kaz show. And everybody else felt like just a tier 2 type of character, even if they were like still there. Like Nina Zenik was still there. I just remember Nina because the character who played her in the Shadow and Bone series was so gorgeous. Matthias was a very good character up until that specific chapter. Jesper, how could I forget Jesper? And I know who I'm forgetting. I know. You don't have to tell me. I'm going to find it in this book. I'm sorry I didn't even show it to you. I'm looking through the book right now to like find the characters that I can't remember in my brain. Inej. Oh my god, I love Inej Gaffa. Was it Inej Gaffa? Can't remember her last name. I do really love all the characters in Six of Crows. I think they're great. There are actually a good set of side characters like Jilin in Ranger's Apprentice that I love. The king himself, King Altman, was great in Ranger's Apprentice. Cassie as a side supporting character was great. Those two series had some pretty good side characters in my opinion. I think House of Cerulean Sea has great side characters because all the kids are technically side characters, but like had a great cast of side characters there as well. Because I haven't reread the Percy Jackson series since I was a kid, I'm not going to talk about that, but honorable mention, we know Percy Jackson has just a myriad plethora of side characters. And I think I use both those words in redundancy, but it's okay. I just like using different words over here. Favorite queer rep in a book. I really like Homegirl from A Name of Things. Let me find that on my list. The Name of All Things by Jen Lyons is book 2 of that series. And Janelle Theranon is a bisexual Jorat. That's her race name, and that's her race in the story. And I think she is really fucking cool. There was one that I read in the Bone Shard series, there was a great relationship. In the Bone Shard Drowning, I call it the Bone Shard series. Fuck the Drowning Empire name. It's the Bone Shard trilogy. There's a great relationship between, what are their names? Man, Free Jovis, man. Free Jovis. Falu and her love interest. And it starts with an N. Her name starts with an N. Or is it Ronami? I think it's Falu and Ronami. Yeah, those two I think were a really good couple. They really complemented each other. And I liked that a lot. Number 20, the favorite disability rep in a book. Oh, I'm sorry. What? I almost glossed over this. Holy shit. You know which one I'm about to say. If you fucking know which one I'm about to say, Ascendant by Michael R. Miller has a blind fucking moon lunar dragon in there. And I love Ash so much. Ash is a fucking dragon. He's a fucking dude. I love Ash so much. Because how often do you get to read and experience a disability creature and their story? Not a human, but a creature. And that is my answer for that. Favorite book with multiple BIPOC characters. If you don't know what BIPOC means, it means bisexual people of color. It means Black, Indigenous, and people of color. Fuck, man. Okay. I knew that. I don't know why I said what I said. I think the Ruin of Kings series by Jen Lyons has a really good cast of BIPOC characters. Those are the only two that are really coming to my mind right now. And I'm kind of annoyed. So I'm going to say those two series, but I'm going to keep an eye out for any more as I'm going through the rest of these questions to come back to this question for. A book where you heavily identify with the main character. There have been a few like that in the past. And I think due to how heavily I identified with them, I kind of cast that memory out. I think in more recent times, because I've also changed as a person, and so the characters I identify with now aren't the same that I used to identify with. I don't think there's just one character. I think there are a few that I identify traits with, but I don't no longer think there's just one that I'm like, yeah, that's me personified in a book. Vis Telemus from The Will of the Many is a very logical, pragmatic main character, and I love that about him. Elijah Gaffrey is thinks he needs to do what needs to be done to save the realm because he's the only one who can do it type of character, and I gotta do what I gotta do to save everybody because that's what I've been told. Very relatable. Becoming a puppet of the realm he's trying to save. Understandable. Jovis from the Drowning Empire series. For him, it was he just wants to do his own thing and he keeps getting pulled into other people's messes, other people's conflicts as his own. And he keeps almost having to play hero or having to fix things when he shouldn't have to. And by the end of it, there's only one way that he could escape all of that. And that one thing happened. So those are a few. That I identify with. Really none in any. And in the recent year and a half of reading, there's really been no books that I've self-identified with any of the characters, any of the main characters. A book with the best found family. I think House of Cerulean Sea was an amazing found family story. Bookshops and Bone Dust is a really good one. Six of Crows forces that upon you, but I still think it's a good one. I think Range's Apprentice is also a really good one. I'm sorry to keep repeating the same ones. I have a whole list that I'm going through. It's just some of these questions just don't fall into that. Ooh, The Lost Story, a more recent book by Meg Schaffer, I think has literal found family and good figurative found family, in my opinion. Number 24, a book that taught you about something you'd never thought about before or knew about before reading it. I think Ghosts of Rainier by Tim Fasciola taught me a lot about generational trauma in a way that I had never thought about it or experienced it. I think Emotional Charades taught me a lot about toxic relationships and the serious viewpoint of them that I kind of hadn't put together. And also a little bit of the struggles of what it is to be a person on the autism spectrum trying to navigate a relationship. The Wedding People, another recent read by Alison Esbach, was an interesting one. It's a failed suicide attempt at a different bride's wedding hotel. Discussed a lot of topics. I think that was a good one too. A book that made you feel dumb as fuck. Tim Fasciola's Eventual Realm makes me feel dumb as absolute fuck because he keeps putting so many layered things in there and I'm not catching all of that shit. I'm not. I'm a surface level reader most of the time. I'm not catching any of that shit. And so if I read that, I'm like, and then when we were in the book club for Ghosts of Rainier and people are like, oh yeah, I remember this from AVR, I remember this from, I noticed this in Ghosts of Rainier. I'm like, how did you find that shit? Were we reading the same book? I don't think we were reading the same book. So that's one that does make me feel dumb as fuck. Most of the books I read don't make me feel dumb. And I don't know what kind of book I don't know what kind of answer you're expecting to make you feel dumb as fuck, unless you're talking about like mysteries or thrillers that keep you on your toes to where you don't know where it's going and things like that. And you're like, oh, I'm so stupid. How did I not see that coming? Maybe that. Maybe, you know what? Going back real quick, book that made me feel dumb as fuck is Atlas 6. I felt like an idiot reading that book because I don't know what the fuck they're talking about in terms of physics and world, like science shit. I don't know what was going on. I really don't. I like to think I'm an intelligent person. I have no fucking clue what was going on in that book. So that was a book that made me feel dumb as fuck. A book that made you cry. No books have made me cry, but I do now cry thinking about certain characters from books. Elijah Gaffrey from the Echo Saga, Jovis from the Drowning Empire have most recently made me cry a shit ton. Lee from the Fireborn series has made me cry. I literally cried on a video on this channel a month ago. So those are 3 characters that I think about that make me cry, but no books have made me cry in the moment. Also, Sword of Kaigen, Mamoru Matsuda, his tale has made me cry after reading it, like thinking back to it, but in the moment, I don't get so caught up in the emotions in the moment because I'm just reading text on a page sometimes. But when I think back to it, the reminiscing and the remembering makes me cry when I actually like try and empathize with the characters. Number 27, we're almost there, guys. Book with the most purple prose. The book that I DNF'd was a Hurricane Wars. Had too much purple prose. I think Heartless Hunter tried to have a lot of purple prose and I didn't like it. I also think the Alice series had a decent amount of purple prose, in my opinion. Try and convince me I'm wrong, please. I also don't read books that have a ton of purple prose just because I know what I like at this point. And more often than not, I just end up not reading books that have a ton of bullshit purple prose. Book with the prettiest sprayed edges. I don't really buy books for sprayed edge vanity purposes, but I do have a couple. You know, I do love my Fourth Wing series kind of dragons on the side. I do love that, but I think my favorite one right now is this one. But it is also my only one, like I said, because I don't care to buy books like that. Now, Onyx Storm's sprayed edges are really cool because they just expanded upon the dragons, but added like the texture and like the stylizing difference back there. I like it a lot. But no, Christopher Paolini's sprayed edges for Murtag is really fucking cool. It's really fucking cool. Okay. It's really fucking cool. I like it a lot. I think I simply picked it up for that. I have no plans to read Murtag in the near future. I just paid the $36 to have this on my shelf. And I will own up to that. As a man, I will own up to that. Longest book you've ever read. I have no clue. I don't count those, but I've read some pretty thick books in my life. A book you never see anyone talking about. Man, half the fucking books on my list. Let me tell you the wonder that is Forge Master by Seth Ring. You want a fun, entertaining ass book that makes you feel like you're reading a video game and having an adventure with the main character? Forge Master by Seth Ring. No one's ever talked about Seth Ring in my life, and so I went to a local bookstore here, Bookish at KOP Mall, and saw this on the shelf. I was like, never heard of these. Never heard of this one. Never heard of his other book, Battle Mage Farmer, which is actually really fun, and I'm reading it right now. Never heard of Color of Dragons by R.A. Salvatore either. Y'all some idiots out there sometimes because you're missing all of these great, like, less than aggressively popular books. You're missing out. What are other books that I don't see people talking about much? High Key, The Wishing Game, and The Lost Story by Meg Schaffer. People in my circle don't talk about it much, and that just might be my algorithm, but those are really good books. Nobody talks about the Ruined Gods trilogy by Alex Robbins, Panacea, Metanoia, and Titanica. But these bad boys? are actually really good. In my opinion, they're actually really fucking good. None of these questions were like which ones has the best action, the best magic system, the most immersive magic system, the most graphic action scenes, or the most like the best imagery. Those type of questions weren't on this list, and because they weren't, you don't get those answers. Sorry. Don't yell at me. Yell at the person who made this tweet and tell them EntroArchives from YouTube sent you. That being said, that was us going through 30 bookish questions, and so I could share book recommendations with you guys in multiple different ways, and I can cut this up for socials. Yes, sir. If you enjoyed this video, consider liking it, commenting any of your responses to these questions down below. If you are interested in joining a free Discord of readers and writers, join the Discord through the link below. Through it, you'll get a lot of cool things. We are starting a book club in April for Tim Fasciola's A Vengeful Realms series, starting from book 1. And you get to talk to the actual author about the book. How cool is that? Later on after that, in a separate book club, we are going to be starting a general book club. Books voted for by the participants, by the members of the book club, for a lot of indie and self-published authors. And our goal is to have the authors come on and also talk with everybody about the book. Because I think one of the best things about the book club that I was in with Tim Fasciola for Ghosts of Rainia was that I could ask him about the book and yell at him about the book. And I don't want to hear about a book from other readers. I want to hear about a book from the person who wrote it. So if you're interested in that, all of this that I'm telling you is 100% free. Join the Discord through the link below and come through. Let them know Entro sent you. Also, going back to it, you can pick up the free TBR template and get started on tracking your own TBR today. If you want, you can use any of the books that we talked about today as initial TBR items on there, things like that. Okay, if you enjoyed this video, please consider sending it to somebody who also you think might enjoy it or might enjoy me and my banter and just my vibe in general. If you're new here, subscribe. Consider subscribing. We're almost at 1,000. Not really. We're almost at 800 though. Not really. We're almost at 750 though, and that would be really cool. And if you haven't checked out any of the other videos on this channel, please do so. They're all actually really fun. I would definitely not go back further than December, because before then I was a little, the quality just wasn't up there. I'm gonna be honest. So if you're into just talking about books in a deeper way, this is the channel for you. If you're into shitting on books in a deeper way, this channel is for you. If you're into bantering about books in a deeper way, this channel is for you. If you're into reading the most popular books out there and having the same exact discourse on them in every single video you see and nobody's saying something new, this is not the channel for you, but there might be a channel out there for you regardless. And if you like using TikTok or Instagram or Twitter more, follow me on there too. Follow me everywhere. I will catch you guys later. See you guys in the next video. Peace.